Hi friends, today we're doing the 100 horror films that made 2024. I have done this for the past few years and it is a consolidated list that acts as a recap, a capsule, a checklist, and a reminder of everything we have watched and what we have missed. These are films that came into wide release for 2024, so anything that is more niche probably won't be here. These are films that are accessible outside of festivals, so that's why you will see a 2023 here and there because they came into wide distribution in 2024. There is 100. Only 100. This year there was so many horror movies, but we have to cap it somewhere, and 100 is a great number. I'm gonna warn you, there's some hits and misses on this list. This is not the top 100 best films of the year, it's the top 100 that made the year. But honestly, there's a lot of good here. I put them into categories like I do every year instead of doing alphabetical order. I think this is easier. That way you can see what suits your taste and what you might be missing from that subgenre. But obviously, horror cannot be kept in a box. So a lot of these fall within several categories. I'm just doing my best. I'm using the term franchise for anything that is a remake, a reboot, a sequel, a prequel. So anything that is connected to another film will be in that franchise part. Everything is ordered and listed down below for your convenience. And a huge thank you to my Patreons for making videos like this happen. I find these lists really convenient to check out what I've missed throughout the year, especially if I have some more time around holidays. Thank you to everyone who has supported me this year. You guys are the best. Okay, let's get into it. And additionally, if you want to play a fun game with me, let me know by the end of this video how many you've seen out of the 100. Let's go. Starting with action. After a group of criminals kidnap the ballerina daughter of a powerful underworld figure, they retreat to an isolated mansion, unaware that they're locked inside with no normal girl. This is Abigail. Azrael is a dystopian action horror. It's a tale of a silent world where a woman must fight to survive or face sacrifice to an ancient evil. In No Way Up, a group of plane crash survivors must work together to survive in shark-infested waters. In Netflix's Don't Move, a woman is injected with a paralytic agent by a killer. Now she must run, fight, or hide before her body shuts down. In Filipino film Outside, a family is trying to outrun the zombie outbreak by returning to their father's secure childhood farmhouse. Apocalypse Z is a Spanish horror about a man sheltering from a spreading rabies-like disease. On his journey, he meets other travelers, and together they fight to survive. In Destroy All Neighbors, a struggling musician finds himself in a living nightmare when he accidentally kills Vlad, the neighbor from hell. Lisa Frankenstein is the coming-of-rage story about a teenager and her crush who happens to be a corpse. After a set of horrific circumstances brings him back to life, the two embark on a journey of love with a few missing body parts. Cashing in on the trademark, a masked killer dressed as Mickey Mouse decides to play a deadly prank on a group of friends at a surprise party in an amusement arcade. Amy Adams stars in this horror comedy based on a book where a woman pauses her career to be a stay-at-home mum, but this change begins a feral metamorphosis. Slay is a drag comedy horror following 4 drag queens who find themselves performing for mostly an unwelcoming crowd. But when these people are suddenly attacked, the crowd looks to the queens to save the day. The Radleys follows a seemingly ordinary family with a dark secret they're trying to bury. But it's not long before they can't control their natural urges anymore. Romantic musical horror comedy Your Monster is the unique tale of Laura, whose life is falling apart until she finds her voice again after discovering a monster living in her house. In Y2K, 2 high schoolers crash a midnight millennium celebration on New Year's Eve. But when the clock strikes midnight, things get surreal. In Getaway, a family's vacation to a remote Swedish island takes an unexpected turn when the locals begin to turn on them. In Sting, after raising a spider in secret, 12-year-old Charlotte must face the facts about her pet and fight for a family survival when her once charming creature rapidly transforms. Under Paris is the story of a bloodbath and a grieving scientist who is forced to face her tragic past when a giant shark appears in the Seine. Werewolves is the story of 2 scientists that try and stop a mutation caused by a supermoon that threatens to turn people into, you guessed it, werewolves. Carved is set on Halloween, where a group finds themselves trapped in a historical reenactment village, and now they must unite to defeat an evil, monstrous pumpkin. In The Last Breath, a group of old college friends reunite on a scuba diving trip exploring a wreckage, but soon they find themselves trapped inside an underwater labyrinth of rusted metal surrounded by great white sharks. After a series of strange events leads her to question her family's isolated life, a 10-year-old follows her parents on one of their secret late-night treks to the heart of the forest. This is The Beast Within. French horror Infested is the story of residents in an apartment building that must try and survive a horrific, life-threatening spider infestation. Tiger Stripes is a coming-of-age film where a 12-year-old realizes that her body is changing at an alarming rate. Nicolas Cage stars in a dystopian creature feature about a father and his twin sons who are fighting to survive in a remote farmhouse at the end of the world, and this is Arcadian. Handling the Undead is set on a hot summer day in Oslo, when the dead mysteriously awake and 3 families are thrown into chaos when their deceased loved ones come back to them. Hold Your Breath stars Sarah Paulson in a period drama horror set in 1930s Oklahoma, where she must protect her children against horrific dust storms and any darkness they may carry. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end a terrifying killing spree. This is Longlegs. The Devil's Bath follows a bleak phenomenon in 18th century Europe, where a woman who has just been married is soon consumed by darkness that she cannot escape. In Rita, a 13-year-old fleeing an abusive home is placed into an oppressive state-run orphanage. Here she becomes the source of hope for others abused, as they plan their escape. An addition to the classic Alien franchise, in Romulus, a group of young space colonists scavenging in a space station come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. A standalone prequel to A Quiet Place, Day One is about Sam and her cat, who find themselves trapped in New York City during the early stages of an invasion by alien creatures with ultra-sensitive hearing. Set at the same time as Rosemary's Baby, Apartment 7A follows a struggling dancer who finds herself drawn in by dark forces when an older couple takes her in. In 2024, we got the long-awaited sequel to Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Now Lydia and her daughter accidentally unleash Beetlejuice again, making contact with the underworld. In this installment of Hellboy, we follow him as he links up with a rookie BPRD in the 1950s to uncover a witch community led by a devil tied to Hellboy's past. A remake of the original film, Nosferatu, is the story of a woman who is obsessed with a dark figure who haunts her dreams. The readaptation of the Stephen King novel Salem's Lot follows an author who returns to his hometown in search of inspiration, only to discover that townspeople are being attacked by vampires. A follow-up to Smile, Smile 2 follows pop star Sky Riley as she begins to experience terrifying events after witnessing a horrific death. A remake of the same name, Speak No Evil, follows a family who are invited to spend a whole weekend in a lonely home in the countryside, but soon they realize that the family who invited them has a dark side. Art returns in Terrifier 3 to terrorize Sienna and her family again, and this time it's during the holiday season, in the most gruesome entry yet. Another classic remake, this is The Crow from 2024. Bill Skarsgård plays Eric, who witnesses his soulmate's murder. Now he cannot rest until her death is avenged. A prequel to the 70s classic, The First Omen follows a young American woman who is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, but she encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy. In The Platform 2, a new arrival threatens the balance in a prison where inmates are fed on a descending platform. A remake of The Beloved Strangers, we follow a couple whose car breaks down in an eerie small town. Now they're forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. morning. Their evening becomes a nightmare when strangers in masks approach their door. VHS is back for Beyond. This is a sci-fi themed entry, and it has 6 blood-curdling stories inspired by the great beyond. Not wanting to live in the shadows any longer, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Owl, and Tigger take their fight to the town of Ashdown, leaving a bloody trail of death and mayhem in their wake. This is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire follows the new generation of Ghostbusters and the original team, who must now work together to protect their home and, oh yeah, the world from a second ice age. I Saw the TV Glow is a cosmic tale about a lonely teenager trying to make it through life in the suburbs when they're introduced by another teen to a mysterious late-night TV show. Somewhere Quiet is the strange story of a woman who is working through her trauma when she visits a cabin with her partner, but as time goes on, reality begins to melt away. Strange Darling is the story of 2 mysterious people who spend the night together, but one is harboring a dark secret that unravels in a non-linear narrative. The Substance is the mind-blowing story of an aging out celebrity who takes a black market drug in hopes to create a better version of herself, but the unexpected results split her life in 2. In stop motion, an animator struggles with her demons after losing her overbearing mother. Now her hideous creations take over her life. Remains Night is turned upside down in Mads when a figure covered in bandages approaches his car. Now in one continuous shot, evil is unleashed. Milk and Cereal is a twisted found footage where a friendship takes a turn for the worst when a social media duo's pranks go too far. Cuckoo is a twisted mystery about a 17-year-old girl who is forced to move with her family to a resort where things are not what they seem. Ganymede takes place in a small town where a wrestling star is developing a crush on his classmate, but he begins to be stalked by a sinister creature as his feelings develop. Monster Summer is a coming-of-age horror mystery where a force threatens to disrupt a small-town summer fun. Now a group of teens team up with a retired cop to save their island. The Watchers is based on a book about a woman who becomes stranded in a forest in West Ireland. She becomes trapped alongside of 3 strangers stalked by mysterious creatures who watch them each night. M. Night and Josh Hartnett team up in a twisted story about a father and his teen daughter who attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered a trap for a killer. In Cellar Door, a couple looking for a fresh start are offered their dream house for free, but there's one condition: they can't open the cellar door. Black Cab is the twisted story of a toxic relationship driven to the brink by a psycho cabbie on a dark night. J. Wow's Blunder found footage. Sorry, I'm trying not to make this personal, but this is something else. In this one, we follow a group attempting to record evidence of the horrific case of Devon. Amelia's Children also has me gagged, but for a different reason. This is one of the most taboo films of the year. Amelia's Children follows a man's search for his biological family, but it lures him to a twisted truth about his roots. Independent found footage Frogman is the story of 3 friends in search of the Loveland Frogman. They aim to find out once and for all if he's real or just a folktale. Chime is one of the top horror movies of 2024 on Letterboxd. The psychological horror follows a culinary arts teacher whose student awakes him to a sinister threat. Double Blind is the story of an experimental drug trial where we follow a group that must fight off sleep to stay alive. You'll Never Find Me is a twisted mystery. It all starts when a stranger knocks on a recluse's door in the middle of the night looking for shelter from a storm. The Front Room is impossible to categorize. This horror is the story of a newly pregnant couple who are forced to take in their evil, estranged stepmother. Indonesian horror Grave Torture is the chilling exploration of a woman trying to prove if grave torture is real, forcing her to face her religion head on. In Heretic, 2 missionaries knock on Mr. Reed's door hoping to spread their faith, but end up deeply regretting their decision when Mr. Reed has other plans for their stay. Immaculate is about Cecilia, a woman of devout faith who is warmly welcomed into a picture-perfect Italian countryside where she's offered a role to serve serve God. But it soon becomes clear to Cecilia that her new home harbors a dark and horrifying secret. The Exorcism is an undercover Exorcist remake. I'm not sure if this one falls into religious or just supernatural, but we follow Russell Crowe playing an actor who begins to exhibit haunting behavior while shooting a horror film. In AI horror Afraid, the Curtis family is selected to test a new home device. This device learns the family's behaviors and begins to anticipate their needs. But trouble begins when it oversteps its boundaries. Caitlin Cronenberg directs dystopian sci-fi horror film Humane. The film is about a family dinner that erupts in chaos when the father's plan to enlist in the government's new euthanasia program goes horribly awry. Time Cut is a sci-fi teen slasher, and it follows a high school student that accidentally travels back in time to before she lost her sister. Now with her future knowledge, she tries to find her sister's killer before it's too late. When his wife becomes sick, a struggling father buys a lifelike AI android named Alice to help with housework. But things get dangerous when Alice becomes sentient. This is Subservience. A reunion turns into a nightmare in It's What's Inside, when an estranged friend shows up with a mysterious suitcase offering to play a life-changing game with party guests. In Things Will Be Different, two siblings lay low in a farmhouse that hides them away in a different time. Marketed as a JoJo Siwa film, All My Friends Are Dead is the story of a group of college kids who rent an Airbnb for the biggest music festival of the year, but things take a turn when the group is picked off one by one. In a Violent Nature is very hard to categorize, but it is a twisted take on the slasher genre. In this experimental horror, we follow a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 70-year-old crime. Now his body, resurrected, becomes hellbent on revenge. In Low Lives, a family's survival skills are tested when they have no other choice but to stay a night in a stranger's home. The long-awaited finale of the X trilogy, we follow Maxine in 1980s Hollywood as an aspiring film star who's finally about to get her big break. But a mysterious killer begins to stalk the starlets of Hollywood, leaving a trail of blood that threatens to reveal her sinister past. In Stream, the Keenan's family's simple getaway truly turns into a vacation to die for, as four deranged killers playing a sadistic game lock down their hotel to create the most creative murders of all the guests. Exuma is a brooding South Korean folk horror where spiritual experts must go through the process of excavating a grave for answers, but what they uncover is more sinister than they could ever have imagined. House of Spoils blends food and the supernatural as a chef opens her first restaurant on an estate with a rotten history. In Imaginary, a woman returns to her childhood home to discover that an imaginary friend she left behind is very real, and unhappy that she abandoned him. In Never Let Go, Halle Berry stars in a haunted story of a family that is surrounded by evil. They're unable to leave their property without particular precautions, and testing them will endanger their lives. In Night Swim, a family moves into a new home, unaware that a dark secret from the house's past will unleash an evil force in their backyard pool. Oddity was a crowd favorite this year. The movie is about a psychic medium who attempts to uncover the truth behind her sister's murders at the site of the crime. In Tarot, we follow a group of friends that recklessly violate the sacred rule of tarot readings, and now they unleash an evil trapped within these cursed cards that comes for them one by one. The Deliverance is based on a true story about an Indiana family who discovers strange demonic occurrences that convince them and their community that their house is the portal to hell. The Vordelak takes place in a hostile forest where a noble missionary of the King of France finds refuge in a home of a strange family. In Daddy's Head, a boy and his stepmother fear for their safety after a tragedy opens them up to a disturbing entity mimicking their trauma. In The Mugai, a mother must look to her past when she is terrorized by an evil spirit that she believes is trying to take her children. Late Night with the Devil follows a live TV broadcast on Halloween, where the audience watch evil unravel in real time on stage. In Bag of Lies, a man is desperate to save his dying wife and turns to an ancient relic with dark magic, and the cure demands a chilling ritual with strict rules. Baghead is the story of a young woman who inherits a rundown pub and discovers a dark, sinister secret living within its basement. A lost folklore singer takes refuge in a hidden mansion that is the home to a mysterious tradition that changes his destiny. In Mr. Crockett, a mother embarks on a quest to rescue her son from a demonic children's TV show host. In Bagman, a father faces a childhood threat that resurfaces. Now he must protect his family from a sinister force. And this last film is about a vampire that happens to also be an humanitarian, and they rebel against their family in order to find a suitable consenting donor. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how many you did see in the comments down below. I'm very interested to see the numbers. If you enjoyed this video, why not send it to a friend and get them to participate in the challenge? Let's see who watched the most horror this year. I hope you found this helpful. Don't forget to check out my latest videos, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.